Well, howdy folks, Halcrex here, and welcome to Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 120. And today we're going to finish off with the last of the 3050 information that we're seeing in the battlefield when it comes to battle armor. Yes, battle armor. Infantry running around in power suits. Now, those of you that are from the 40K genre and you're listening into this and you're still wondering what Battletech's all about, imagine Terminators that can have jump jets and lots of stuff that can open up guys like a can of worms. So these are the Space Marines of the Battletech Universe. They're the same size and just as nasty. So battle armor are individual infantry. They come in points of 5, so you got 5 little troopers running around with their, you can see here, you got the ones with their missile pods on their back, and they're running around with either a flamer or a small laser, machine gun. You know, you're talking a whole bunch of different little short-range stuff, along with their missile packs. Yeah, the missile packs don't go very far, you know, out to 9, but hey, you know, they work pretty good for taking down all kinds of comers. So basically, if you have a point of infantry, you know, elementals, aka toads, as the Inner Sphere likes to call them, before they figured out what they really were called as elementals, they are really good at harassment. You know, they can take a lot of beating to take down. Yeah, a typical one, you got to do about 50 points of damage or more, depending on what you hit them with, because the wonderful things about elementals, the standard elementals take 10 points of damage. You got 9 armor and 1 for the guy that's inside, so 10. And they, if you hit the block of them, you know, a little stand of them with an AC 20 that does 20 points of damage, you're only killing 1. Yep, just 1, because it doesn't transfer and go to all the rest of them. Now, that can be a problem, especially if you, like, say you fire a whole bunch of medium lasers. Let's say you hit one stand of them with 5 medium lasers. You may potentially kill none of them. You know, you're doing 25 points of damage, so technically you could kill 2. So the odds are you're going to probably kill 1 or 2 of them. But basically, when you hit them, you got to roll a d6 and then just kind of randomize who gets hit. So it's possible to not kill them all, or even kill any of them. I've had that happen before. It's like, oh my gosh, these things are just nasty. I remember when we first started playing with them, facing against these guys, it's like, oh boy, this is not very much fun. Now, you ask yourself, well, they move 1, or they can jump 3. You know, they're basically slow little pigs moving around the battlefield. And you say, well, that can't be a very big deal. They can't move that fast. Yeah, that's true. They can jump 3, so they have some mobility. So basically, you're going to look at a 2 modifier. That's how you use them. You just keep, if you're running them around on the field by themselves, you go 1, you jump 3, jump 3, jump 3, because, you know, their movement doesn't hurt them. You know, unlike a Battlemech, which has all the modifiers, which can be a problem. But their biggest thing, their strength, is working in conjunction in combined arms with Battlemechs. Clan Omnis, and now we've been going through all the Clan Omni-mechs of the 3050 book, and you notice that most of them are running around with all kinds of weapon systems in their arms. There's a reason for it. Because when they go to battle, there's little handholds on all the Battlemechs where the infantry grab a hold, jump up, and then they just grab a hold and go into battle, riding along magnetically locked onto the Battlemech. So they're using their speed as a battle taxi. So imagine a light star of mechs that are running around 8, 12, 7, 11. You're talking like, you know, dashers and dragonflies and stuff like that, where they are just hauling across the table, and they have battle armor attached to them, so they're riding along as a battle taxi. They can be deployed just quickly. You know, when we first started doing that, it was like, wow, these things are fast, and they're pretty nasty. They can throw down a lot of good firepower. Now, yeah, the firepower, they have it in those two SRM2 launchers in their shoulders, which have 2 reloads. So it's not like a typical Battlemech where SRM2 will have 50 shots out of it. Now these things only get 3, they have 3 salvos altogether. So there is that kind of a limit there, but typically when they start unloading onto mechs and stuff like that, they can tear them up pretty good. And if they can do their mech attacks, so they can assault other mechs, so they can do their shooting and then do a jump right on top of, let's say, an unsuspecting mech, get in there and just start with their power claws, opening up the good juicy parts of the battle mech, and then maybe even open up it like a can of worms and say, hey, look at there's a pilot, let's rip him right out. This kind of reminds me of, God, which book was it, or shows an elemental that had part of his armor blown away got hit by the shot or something, and you can see the pilot inside. Like, yep. Just imagine the whole front line of the football team, American football team, where you're talking about guys that are 6'5", 7 foot plus, you know, big, burly type of dudes. So that's the wonderful thing about these things, is that they can be deployed quickly, and once they're deployed, just like they can rocket off with their jump jets and start shooting as much as they like. And if they get in really close, they can start hitting you with those like small lasers, machine guns, etc. Now, another interesting fact is that while they're battle taxi mode, you get 2 of them on the front, right and left torso, and then you have the 3 on the back, right, left torso rear, and then 1 in the center torso rear. And the interesting thing is that you can use them as a blade of armor. Let's say you're running your mech across the field and it gets hit with, say, a large laser, and it hits the right torso where that elemental is parked. Suddenly, like, oh, that 8 points of damage goes against the elemental. It doesn't hit the mech, it hit the guy that's riding on, and so it's like a blade of armor. And so for roughly 50 to 60 points, for depending on how much you want to spend on these guys and what equipment loadouts they have, you're going to have something that is fairly cheap added on. So roughly 250 points to 300 points. You can add some elementals and run around, you know, having basically 5 stands, a point of them, as a blade of armor, or just going in and taking an objective. Let's say you got, wonderful thing is let's say somebody likes to park themselves in the back with, let's say, a longbow or an archer, and you run across the board with your light star and your scouts loaded up with elementals, and you just fly in, unload, elementals go flying off, jump down, hit the with all their weapons, shooting the say the longbow that's parked there up close and personal. And just say you got all the bigger weapons around all the Battlemechs, so they rip the armor off. Then you have all these little plinker weapons. These guys make excellent crit hunters, plain and simple. It's just glorious. It's like you have something rip a lot of the armor off, then these guys hit them and then just tear things up. Now the downside of it in one way with elementals is that you have 5 and 5 that have 5 the ER medium or ER small lasers on them, and then you have the missile. So you add up all the missiles and you figure out, you go on a cluster chart to see how many actually hit if you hit, and then it's the same way with the lasers. So it's not going to be a lot of damage, but they can do some good work to tear things up quickly. Now if you're shooting at elementals at, let's say they're out in the middle of the field or something, They rocketed off. They jumped off your battle taxi, and they jumped 3. You have a 3 modifier to even hit them, because let's say they jump 3. There's 1 modifier for the jump 3. The movement is 3. There's 1 more, and then they're dispersed infantry. So they kind of spread out. So you have a 3 modifier right off the bat trying to hit them. So it is kind of hard to shoot these guys if you're moving them as fast as you can. Even if they jump 1, you're still a 2 modifier. And if you're typically looking at inner sphere mechs, which have you typically 4 gunnery, yeah, it's not quite in their favor a lot of times to do some damage against these guys, especially if the early inner sphere ones that don't have the best weapons to begin with. So that is pretty much it for just your basic clan elementals. Now, originally these things were designed by who is it? I know it was Goliath Scorpions. I think that's the name of the clan that originally started looking at everything, and then it went to the Clan Wolf, for the ones that actually really designed the best of the first generation of elementals. Now there's 4 other type of elementals that are designed by the different ones. We got the Gnome, which was by the Hell Horses. I'm working on some of those right now, and those are pretty good. They are the ones that run around with an ER small laser and advanced SRM2s. So they got some decent weapon, and then they also have some variants with them that have auto cannons and pulse lasers, etc., micro pulse lasers. So they do some good work. Or anti-personnel AP Gauss rifles. So those things can tear things up. And then you have what's the next one? We got the Salamanders, which these guys are like cookers, with the Clan Fire Mandrels. And then you got Jade Falcons. Clan Wolf also been known to see them. Now these guys here are a little heavier, pretty much used for killing off infantry or cooking things. They got 2 flamers and then an SRM1 Inferno. So these guys are throwing the heat out. So if you do happen to have mechs running around, you can get hit with these things. They can do some good work in causing some heat. Now, Clan Snow Raven have been known to run around with these things also. So they've been spotted with them. And then we have the Sliff, or Sif, or however you want to call that. This is running around with the Clan Cloud Cobras. These guys have a micropulse laser and a one-shot bomb pack. So these things actually fly. You know, they move pretty good. They're light class, not a lot of armor on them, but they move pretty good. And they're able to get around quickly. There's a couple variants that have machine guns on them. And also, I think they have, one of them might have improved, improved jump jets, so they can move even faster. So that is pretty much it. Then is that was Smoke, Clan Smoke Jaguars have been known to have a few of them on hand in the past. So as you notice that there's clans out there that do run with them here and there with a few different versions. And then we got the last one is the Undine, or Undine, or however you want to pronounce it. This is Clan Goliath Scorpion. This is their one that has a micro pulse laser and a one-shot LRM5. Yeah, so they can shoot things out a little bit farther out. These are ones that are kind of, they call them water elementals. They have basically kind of like the standard elemental, but with a little bit different loadout, and they're able to go underwater. So if you got any type of combat that's going on underwater, these are the guys that you go with. And it goes kind of along the Goliath Scorpions thought process that they have, or they do have a tendency to go underwater, have underwater combat type of thing. So they work in conjunction with some other other vehicles and stuff they have, because they're not all the clans. It's like Hell's Horses. They're the ones that like to run around with more vehicles and combined arms type of thoughts, working with everything. So yeah, it works out pretty good with all of those. So that is what you have with pretty much some basic thoughts that you can use them with, and pretty much how we use them. Vast majority of the time we use them as battle taxis to get around, loading them up on cheaply, not putting a lot of points into them, and once they're offloaded on the ground and operating separately, we typically, how we do it is that they're separate now. That once they unloaded off of their battle taxi Omni-Mech, then they're now a initiative sync, so they can move around and force individuals to maneuver into areas that they don't want to be in. Especially if you got, you can start harassing like heavies and assaults that are not as fast to get the 4-6 and 3-5 moving interspearbacks. You throw some elementals at them, they start going, I don't know if I want to be around those guys very much, because if they get a hold of them, because they can do their anti-mech attacks and start just tearing stuff up and actually ripping holes in armor, especially if they get a hold of the back and the legs and stuff like that. So overall, they are worth the points to put into the game, especially, but it's once again, it's another problem that you have with the clans, is that when it comes to battle value, I like to throw them on my light and medium stars. It's a little bit extra, but overall it may end up costing you the difference between running another heavy versus another medium mech, okay, when it comes to battle value points. So that's something you got to take into consideration, but they're worth having on the field for multiple reasons. And if you used it before, let me know how they've done in games for you. Also, we're going to be moving into the Innersphere mechs here soon. And if you got any that you want to be talking about or want me to go through, because we're going to be doing technical 30-50 upgrades on all the 39 era mechs. So how I usually mess with them to upgrade them. So that's how we're going to be going through it. All right, this is Hellcrix, and hope you guys have a good one. Hellcrix out.